Brian Kelly was a guest Monday on the Finebaum Show. Ever since Brian Kelly took the LSU job, he's done this weekly hit on the Finebaum Show. And I don't quite know why. And I don't mean that in any way to be a knock on Paul. I know everyone does the Paul stuff. I have tremendous professional and personal respect for Paul. He's been very kind to me over the many years that I've been covering the league and going to media days and been a guest on his show. He's come on this show. That's not a Powell thing. It's just it's more of a, I don't know why the LSU coach feels the need to go on the Finebaum Show every week. Clearly he has his reasons. It's fine. I think access is great. But it was interesting. They covered a lot of ground, but the one thing that maybe was the most interesting to me was, and I'll tell you why, because I had a conversation with a coworker today that sort of ties this together. But Brian Kelly was asked by Finebaum sort of about his authenticity, and you think back to how the family thing, and you're dancing with the recruit on the spinning camera thing when he was new here, and pounding the table last year after they lost to USC, and no matter what he does, it's almost like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I on my text line yesterday, I had someone message me and say, man, Brian Kelly seems uptight, seems nervous and tight. I was like, he literally walked into the press conference and was cracking jokes about the fact that he was wearing a suit and none of us were. He pointed at me specifically. He was like, Matt, this is the best you got? I mean, I was wearing a golf shirt and jeans. It was tucked in, by the way. And I held up I was wearing Jordans. I held up my patent leather Jordans. And he's like, see, the guys would like you if you go watch it. That was then he made the seatbelt interaction. Like, he was cracking jokes. Seemed very normal to me. So I made the comment, man, he was cracking jokes. And the response was, yeah, well, you get to crack jokes when you win. He's not taking it seriously enough. I'm like, wait, which is it? I think that's just the prism through which a lot of people view Brian Kelly. And it's almost like a politician. When you've been around for 20, 30 years in politics, or some cases longer, there's no fence sitters. Everyone's made up their mind about you, if they like you or don't like you. There's no swing vote any longer. You know what I mean? When you've been around that long. And Brian Kelly's been a head coach for this. He's said it many times. This is his 34th year. And he's been in high-profile positions for a decade at Notre Dame and now at LSU. And for better or worse, people have made up their minds about Brian Kelly. And it would take something significant to change their stance. The significant thing would be winning a national championship if he can climb that mountain. It's the singular reason why he's here. We say it often, why so many veteran coaches continue to leave the profession, because they don't want to deal with revenue share. They don't want to deal with NIL and all the things that go in with the college game. Now, the reason I think that Brian Kelly's still here is not because he wants to deal with that stuff. It's because he wants to win a national championship. It's the one box on his career resume that he has not checked. And so he's got a great opportunity to do it here and with this team. But anyway, all that to say, Finebaum asked Kelly about his authenticity, and this is what Brian Kelly said.
Look, I can't think in those terms, Paul. Like, I can't think like with the cameras on me, let me come up with something witty. I have a hard time pronouncing anyways. First time I got out in front of the team, it sounded like I had a Southern accent. So when you're a Boston guy who's been in the Midwest and you come down to the South, to me, the one thing that's great about being in the South, people are authentic. They are who they are. And I think that's who I am. That's my background. And I'm not liked by a lot of people because of that. But at least at the end of the day, I can walk away and know who I am. And there's no anything else but that's who he is. And you can like him, you can hate him, whatever.
I may, it was interesting. I may ask Chris Marler to write a piece on that over at LouisianaSports.net. And if you're not familiar, we hired Chris a year ago to manage our social media, and he's also our SEC writer at LouisianaSports.net. Like, Hunt is our primary LSU writer. Ross Jackson does a great job with our Saints content. And Chris is our SEC guy. He worked for Saturday Down South prior, lived in Atlanta, and now recently has moved to Baton Rouge. So just a month ago moved to Baton Rouge after working remotely for a year. And so he's been at all the practices. all the media availability we have with Brian Kelly and Sloan and all the stuff. He's been in all the stuff. And I was sitting in Chris's office earlier today. We were talking, and we were talking about that specifically, the authenticity thing. And he's like, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he was saying it was strange because it's like, Kelly seems like a really this was him relating to. He seems like a really likable guy. I was like, it's interesting, right? Considering what the perception is. And so we were having this conversation, and I think sometimes, not sometimes, it's very common actually, that narratives get crafted about people in the public eye based on whatever evidence might be presented. Like if you put me on a lie detector today and say, Matt, do you believe Brian Kelly was faking a Southern accent at that basketball game? I would swear on a stack of Bibles, put me on a lie detector. I do not think that man was trying to fake a Southern accent. I know the world believes that, but I think he just tripped his words, and I've listened to every man that every word that man has spoken into a microphone since he got hired at LSU. And he's got a weird diction, and I think he just elongated a syllable. That's all. I don't think he was trying to be Southern. But the internets can be pretty hilarious at times, so they've taken it and run, and that's just fed into the narrative. I often say that people look for, it's confirmation bias. When you've made up your mind about a person, a thing, an idea, you look for things to confirm, and then you ignore things that disconfirm that idea. The thing with Kelly, for me, is when he got hired, I had no real strong opinion on Brian Kelly. I certainly was very aware of Brian Kelly, the coach. He had a great run at Notre Dame. I just thought he had the issue at Notre Dame every coach has at Notre Dame. Until they were willing to relax the admission standards for football, you would never build a roster 1 to 85 good enough to win a national championship. And you could say, well, look at last year. They played for one. Yeah, and they got their ass kicked. And the same thing happened to Brian Kelly against Alabama and against Clemson when he got to a BCS championship game, when he got to the college football playoff. And it's just, until they're willing at that place to relax admission standards to allow 85 guys in there that can compete against Bama and Clemson and LSU and Georgia. Like, they can get there if the path is right and things fall their way, but they're never going to win when they're there because they're going to run into Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, LSU, someone like that. So maybe that'll happen for Marcus Freeman. I don't know, but I guess I just understood, considering my history with Notre Dame and South Bend and being there and knowing a lot about that place, I just understood why he kept running into a brick wall, because every coach at that place is going to, and until I've always said it's a Notre Dame problem. It wasn't a Brian Kelly problem. But I do admire the fact that someone covering the team and covering him, I do admire the fact that I think he is authentic. And he really doesn't seem to give a rip if people hate him, which allows him to keep doing the things that he does, the awful dad jokes that never really seem to land, and coaching the team the way he knows how. And we'll see if it's good enough this year. Because the bottom line is, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about him, whether you love him, hate him, right, wrong, good, bad, Southern, Northeastern, Midwest. It just doesn't matter. You have to win. It's what I've said about Kelly since the day he was hired. People still to this day, how does Brian Kelly fit? It doesn't matter. Skip Bertman was a Jewish guy from Miami. Dale Brown's from Minot, North Dakota. Nick Saban's from West Virginia, spent his whole career in the Midwest. Just win. It's the only thing anybody cares about here. I mean, just win. Just win, and people will love you. And this will be his best opportunity to do it. Got $18 million sunken in this roster. You better go win. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.